welcome once again to Let's Talk Marriage. This is Pastor Larry coming to you this Wednesday afternoon with Let's Talk Marriage. All right. I'm outside in the backyard here. Hope everyone is having a wonderful summer. We just got back from vacation. We are back, and we're going to have some good programs coming up for you. So make sure you keep watching. We're back. We had a wonderful time over in Orlando, Florida. With the theme parks for Disney World. Yeah, Disney World. Make sure I got that right. My wife kept saying Disneyland, but it's Disney World that we went to in Orlando, Florida. We had a wonderful time out there. Enjoyed the weather. It rained every day, but out there it rains and dry up in the next minute. The kids got a chance to go down to the pool. We went with family. It's all family. It's 11 of us, so we had a wonderful time. The flight was interesting. I'm used to flying, but we had a few people with us that weren't used to flying, so they they were kind of how people are. Anyway, we had a wonderful time. We're gonna get right on into our program. Hope everyone is doing well. If you woke up this morning, you are doing well. We're gonna get right on into our program. Our program today is believing the best about your spouse. This is an article I picked up from Focus on the Family. I taken some parts from it. Focus on the Family is from December 28, 2016. Uh, and it's by Emerson Eckerich. It's saying believing the best about your spouse. We live in a day and time where people are so critical of each other, especially in the marriages. You want to make sure that we are not being critical of our husbands because if you I've heard my wife say it several times when while she's up speaking, she says a lot that if I'm not respecting my husband, why should anyone else respect my husband? So we have to make sure that we respect our spouses. The husband should be respecting their wives, because, when you see the best in them, that can eliminate a lot of disagreements, a lot of arguments, when you see the best in each other. And we are there to help each other along the way. As a married couple, you are a team. And you should be working together, not against each other. You should always be working together. And there's so many things. Because two people, first of all, you have two people that are most of the time they're different. Come from different backgrounds sometimes. But once you walk down that aisle and say "I do," you become married. You become one. So you are a team. So you have to make sure that we are supporting each other and seeing the best in each other, because you can't, put someone down and expect to get the best out of them. You have to uh, cool it under criticism. Sometimes we are our spouse's worst critic. Sometimes you have to not be so critical of them, because we all make mistakes. Again, there's no such thing as a perfect marriage or a perfect spouse. So we all make mistakes. So we have to make sure that we are taking that in consideration. And, it's your choice to, be the way you want to be. But in order for you to have a successful marriage, you can't be so critical of your spouse, because I've heard so many couples where the spouse is, they're putting each other down. They never have anything good to say about them. Even when, during the times that they're, dressed up, or wife might buy a new dress or something like that, make sure you are complimenting your spouse. And husbands, make sure, especially husbands, make sure you are complimenting your wives. There's nothing wrong with your wives complimenting your husbands either. So make sure you know that we are supporting each other, and and slow to judge. Here, let me read a little part of this. But here's the rub. Uh, Tough. We are good-willed people. Sin still holds up in its grip. We all have moments when when we are selfish, needy, or even mean and spiteful. That is so true. You have those moments where you might not be having a good day, but it's always a good practice not to take your bad day out on someone else. Especially in your marriage, you might not be having a good day. The kids might be getting on your nerves. People on your job might be getting on your nerves. Sometimes you can talk about it. Sometimes, I know when I was working before I retired, my wife would say to me sometimes that I don't talk about work when I get home. But I always had a rule, especially if I had a bad day. Something you don't talk about. I didn't like talking about it that particular day. I might bring it up at a later time. Once it's in the past, I might bring it up then. But sometimes it's a good thing to leave work at work and don't bring your work home. Some people might like to, talk about it or discuss it when they get home. Or I had a bad day. This happened. This happened. But I was one of those people that wanted to leave work there, especially when I had a bad day. I wanted to leave that there. I'm at home. It's peaceful. I'm with my loved ones. I'm with my wife. I don't want to think about work. And that was one of the main reasons why when I was working, a lot of times I wasn't one of those people that went out with the people from work. I preferred to, be with my spouse, be with my family, be with my kids, because you're with those people 8 hours a day in most cases. And if you work overtime, you're with them longer than that. Why would you need to go out with them and get home late? And no, if it was a special occasion, like someone's birthday or something, I would go out with something like that, or someone got a promotion. But just to be just hanging out with them, no, I would rather hang out, and that's how you should be. You should be wanting to hang out with your spouse, because again, your spouse, and I've mentioned it before, your spouse should be your best friend. If your spouse is not your best friend, you need to look into looking to make your spouse your best friend. Share different things, and you don't always have to have everything in common. Again, there's no such thing as a perfect marriage, but you strive to get there. Dr. Eggerichs explains why your spouse may irritate you. Sometimes, we all human. Sometimes we get irritated by certain things, and the thing about it is not to linger on it, or just take it to the next level. If you get irritated, we're human. We get irritated by things. Even like, for instance, you're in church. Sometimes something in church might irritate you. It's not that you're not a good Christian. You're human. And same thing as being in a marriage. Sometimes your spouse. That's why you give them that little space, and to regroup. Because sometimes things might irritate. It might not just be. It might not be your spouse that's irritated. It might be a situation. You might have something on your mind. That's why you have to. A lot of times, when you have something on your mind, doesn't not necessarily mean that you want to talk about it at that moment. What you would do is you pick a time that you will talk about it. When you bring it up then, and say, remember that day I was, that's the reason why. Because sometimes you don't want to discuss it, and you just want to move on and, and get things going. That's why it's a good thing to attend church. Make sure you are in a good church, because when you're in a good church, that is a good uh, opportunity to release some things. When you go to church, and you get spiritual, and you can release things, all the stress, the things they go on in your daily in our daily lives. We can release those things when you're in it. So that's why you have to make sure that you are in a good church. And if your spouse is not attending church with you, I have always said this and I've talked about it several times on the program. If your spouse is not attending church with you, find out why. Don't, not in a nagging way, in a conversational way. That's how you put it. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. In a conversational way, find out why they don't go to church. But they might not like your church. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody's not going to like what you like because you're two different people. So they might not like your church. So, have that discussion with them. And that should have been a discussion that should have been made before you got married. But if you got married and you were in two different churches, you might want to look into attending a church that's neutral, that neither one of you have any affiliations with. So you have to make sure that you have that conversation with them, and there's nothing wrong with having that conversation. If they don't like the church that you attend, that don't make them a sinner. We real quick to say that. You old devil. No, that does not make them a sinner. It's just they may just not like your church. So find out why, and try to attend the church that you both agree upon. Your church might not have different things going on. It might, they might not have a men's ministry, because a lot of guys like to be in a church where there's a men's ministry where they go and do things together as men, as a have good clean fun where they go out to dinner or out to lunch with the brothers in the church, or they might go fishing, or have some kind of outing. And the same thing with the women, same thing with the children. Sometimes your children might not like your church. Have the conversation with them, because if they're in a setting where there's other young people, whether it be church, school, they're going to adapt. And if you're in a church where there's hardly no young people, you don't really expect that your children are going to want to attend that church, even though you might have been raised in that church. They don't see that. They see that there's no young people there. There's no one to make connections with. So you have to make those connections with people. And again, when you make this connection with people, you won't be so quick to run off and marry somebody right away. We've always said that on this program. Don't go running off marrying these people. Get to know them well. Even know their credit report, even know what kind of job they got, even know what their goals are, what they intend on doing in life. Make sure you know all that. Don't go running down the aisle just because he said, I love you. You got to have something to back that up. So make sure that you know these people before you start a relationship with them. And then that way, when you do that, when you get to know these people, when you get into the relationship with them, they'll have a better chance of believing the best about your spouse because you know them. So don't go marry somebody just because they asked you to. Find out what their intentions are. Even though they might have asked you to marry them, they still could have ill intentions. So make sure you know about these people. We've said it so many times on these programs. Don't don't be. This ain't married at first sight. What that show called, Married at First Sight. No, this is not Married at First Sight. You don't go marry nobody at first sight. You get to know them because you don't want no surprises after you get married. Especially if you want to believe the best in your spouse. You don't want no surprises. Because I didn't know that. You didn't tell me that. You don't want one of those conversations. Why didn't you tell me that? Because if you're honest with people will be honest and tend to be honest with you. So you have to make sure that you know each other. And and to get along with each other, when you know each other, you can get along better because for one thing, you understand each other. You have a better understanding with each other. Okay, this is Pastor Larry. We are going to be signing off here. This has been a great, 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 great summer so far. So make sure you continue that. And we had talked about it when we were in out in Orlando, make sure you take your spouse somewhere, just somewhere. You don't have to go to Orlando. That's that's a family thing. You can go anywhere. Just take them somewhere. Take some time off. Don't be one of those workaholic people where you constantly work and don't take no time. Take some time off, even if it's just 3, 4 days. Take some time off. Spend it with your family. Spend it with your wife. If you empty nesters, make sure you take your wife somewhere. And try to have date nights. Sometimes it's kind of hard when you have children. If you have children, this is the solution. Take them with you. Then they'll know that how to uh, how to behave in public. They'll know how to behave in a restaurant. They'll know how to uh, order off a menu or from a menu. So make sure you take your children somewhere. And again, make sure you take your spouse somewhere and your family somewhere. Make sure you spend some time together and enjoy this summer, because there's so many things that are going on that's so crazy in this world. People are doing all kind of crazy stuff. So we have to learn to enjoy our family, enjoy this life as Christians, because the Christian life is not boring. I don't know why people think that. It is nowhere. I've never been bored. I've been retired for a few years, and I have not been bored yet. I just enjoy being with my family, being with my wife, because she is a wonderful woman. Just a beautiful lady. So this is Pastor Larry. I'm going to be signing off until we meet again. We're going to have different subjects. If you have an idea of something you want us to discuss on the program, just when you go on Facebook, just put it in the memos or put it in the comments, and we will be sure to address it. This is Pastor Larry. We're going to be signing off until we meet again on Let's Talk Marriage. Remember, all the music that you hear is from a wonderful app called Whoop Triggers Plus.